Moni. Alabwanji. I am Bill Wendell. The month is May 1967, and His Excellency Hastings Kamuzu Banda, President of the Republic of Malawi, is about to depart for his journey to the United States of America. Although this is an unofficial visit, it will turn out to be a memorable one. These, then, are the highlights of a president's journey. Flight 193, arriving Kansas City, Missouri. But this is no routine arrival. Flight 193 carries Dr. Hastings Kamuzu Banda, President of the Republic of Malawi. Kamuzu the Lion, who as a youth had been educated in the United States, coming back in the spring of 1967. Independence, Missouri, site of the Harry S. Truman Library, and sister city of Blantyre. So for Dr. Banda, this is a sentimental journey too. Now a tour of the Truman Library, which had been established to preserve the official papers and historical materials of the years when Harry Truman was President of the United States. And a coincidence of history, the Truman Library shares with Malawi the July 6th anniversary date, the day in 1964 on which Malawi became an independent republic, and Dr. Banda, its first president.
Thank you.
Glad to meet you, sir.
There were civic honors and tours of various industrial plants in the Independence, Missouri area. They process and package tea in this modern Lipton tea factory. This now is the Alice Chalmers plant, where many of the big American harvesting machines are manufactured. The huge combines that are the backbone of American agriculture. President Banda also expressed keen interest in agricultural production, checking on the methods that might be adapted for use in the expanding economy of Malawi. Dr. Banda, inspecting this prize herd of 200 purebred beef cattle, asked how a similar herd might be started in Malawi for the new pioneers in his own country.
Really fat.
This would be a wonderful product for your country, Mr. President.
Very.
And the pioneer spirit in Malawi was President Banda's theme again at a dinner in his honor in Independence,
I
Missouri.
bring greetings also to the Assembly and to His Excellency from President Truman, his warm regards and best wishes for our guest and for the gathering here this evening. And it is with extreme joy that I present to you His Excellency, Dr. H. Kamuzu Banda, President of the Republic of Malawi.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Senator, members of the House of Representatives, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I do not know how to tell you how happy and proud I am to be here this evening, to be with you. The chairman has told you a number of good things about me, but I'm very, very glad that he didn't tell you about some of the bad things about me. I'm most grateful to him, that is, the chairman, when I say to him, for telling you that my education began in a mission school. As I told those who were at the lunch this afternoon, I am a strong believer in youth and in women. So that when I began to organize, I organized a branch of my party, the women, and called it Women's League. And another branch, youth, the Youth League. And these women and my youth, when I was in Guero prison, carried on my work. Before I came back to Nyasaland, white men and black men in Nyasaland could not sit together on the table and talk, let alone eat and drink. But I've broken all that up. Every time I organize a function, I invite white men, I invite Indians. When I say Indian, I mean East Indian, not American Indian. By isolating the white men of South Africa, by refusing them to land in our countries, we Africans. No. I want the South African whites to come and visit Malawi to see how their fellow whites are living in Malawi. Two, the majority of white men in South Africa, and even Rhodesia, know the Africans only as a servant, cooking for them, drawing water for them, waiting on them. And the type of African with whom they all come in contact is the type they probably found in the old days. They do not know that an African can behave as a lady and a gentleman. You understand? And therefore, but if those of us who had the opportunity of going to universities, becoming ministers, can prove to them, those South Africans, that an African can be just as educated, civilized, cultured, and refined as any one of them, even better sometimes, then the wall of Jericho of apartheid will begin to crumble. And it's already beginning to crumble in the Union of South Africa. I repeat, ladies and gentlemen, shouting at each other between black African leaders and white will not solve the problem. I sincerely and honestly believe that the only way that the South African white can be converted is by African leaders in position of power and influence to treat them as human beings, thereby shaming them into doing something better.
Then on to Washington, where President Lyndon Johnson had invited President Banda for a luncheon at the White House. This would be Dr. Banda's second visit to the White House in 3 years. At the airport, he was greeted by United States Chief of Protocol James Symington and Bridger Katenga, Malawi Ambassador to the United Nations. A presidential helicopter carried Dr. Banda from the airport, past the Washington Monument, to the White House grounds. Then he proceeded by limousine to the main entrance of the White House. President Johnson was at the door to meet the visiting president of Malawi.
How are you? I see you.
At the luncheon in the White House, President Johnson toasted President Banda and the people of Malawi for their faith in themselves, particularly in focusing their attention on the problem of internal development. They know, said President Johnson, that the future of Malawi is largely a product of people's faith in themselves and the efforts they put behind that faith. Blair House, residence for visiting dignitaries, was set aside for President Banda's use as his Washington residence during his stay in the United States Capitol. It was there he received the United States Secretary of State, Dean Rusk, and the Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Joseph Palmer II.
Up, 3, down, 4.
Then another sentimental journey, a side trip to Arlington National Cemetery outside Washington to place a wreath at the grave of the late President, John F. Kennedy. That evening, a reception given by the Embassy of Malawi at the Shoreham Hotel in Washington. President Banda had the opportunity to meet ambassadors and other dignitaries from countries represented in Washington. Mrs. Dean Rusk, the wife of the United States Secretary of State, was among the many guests who attended. It had been a 9-day visit to the United States by His Excellency Hastings Kamuzu Banda, President of the Republic of Malawi. Kamuzu the Lion, who as a youth had been educated in the United States, had in a way gone home again. But then the true homecoming. Back in Blantyre, the return of the President of Malawi, and the end of a president's journey.